Hello and welcome to the first edition of Roots to the Bone. I'm Adam Reeves and this channel is set up to support my forthcoming project, Trombone Man, Scar's Fallen Genius, comic book about Don Drummond. And the idea of these episodes is that to have like bite-sized interviews with leading trombonists in the ska and reggae world, and just to find out a little bit about what makes them tick, the roots of their inspiration. And I am delighted to have here with me Lucas Petter from Southeast London ska mavericks, Chainska Brassika. And Lucas actually comes from a family of trombonists. His uncle is Chris Petter, who I actually went to school with, and Chris has played with the likes of Zion Train, Steel Pulse, Lee Scratch Perry, Conscious Sounds, Love Grocer. He's got a whole lineage of trombone playing. So let's bring in Lucas and just tell me a bit about coming from a trombone family, and what was that like?
Yeah, hi guys, peace. Yeah, I was kind of surrounded because my dad was a trombonist as well, Tim, Chris's brother. So I remember just being a little kid and seeing these instruments sliding in and out. And I remember thinking they sounded quite weird, and I didn't really like them, to be honest, at first. But as I got older, I kind of got a bit of interest. I had a go on my dad's one, and I guess a lot of work was done for me because I'd heard a lot of trombone being played already. So, yeah, had no choice.
And Chainska Brassika formed while you were at school in Southeast London. Was that like Lewisham, New Cross, kind of that part of the world?
Yeah, that's a school called Asks in New Cross, and they had a really quite strong music department. And I kind of hooked up with a few guys. We were about 15. And we started playing kind of rock, funk, but we had a horn section, and I was kind of really I was in a ska band previously to that as well, when I was a little bit younger. And I was like, why don't we try play some ska? Because it's like, you know, it's very horn orientated, brass orientated. So we started playing some covers like Message Shoe Rudy and all the classics, and realised that the audiences could dance to it, and it was really jump up music, you know. So it kind of just clicked for what we had, the setup we had, really. So yeah.
And it just kind of took off, didn't it? And you rode a wave of, you know, by the time you were what, in your early 20s, you were supporting Madness and that kind of thing on big tours. Is that right? Or was it not quite as straightforward as that?
Well, it was definitely a rocky road with ups and downs, as these things are. But yeah, it was definitely a kind of trajectory up. Like, we kind of started and did a few albums. Then we were doing the festival gig circuit. We went on tour with Madness. We won a competition in Poland, which took us to Jamaica, and we recorded an album in Harry J Studios in Kingston, which was completely unbelievable, to be honest. And we supported the Skatalites on quite a few dates, and just kind of met a massive network of people and travelled to different places. And as young adults, young teenagers, that's just invaluable, like that life experience, you know. And yeah, we're still together today, 10 years later. So
okay, so going right back to the beginning, can you remember how you came to be, well, how you found ska? What was your entry point into ska and reggae? Was it from family, or what was the first tune you can remember, and what kind of impact did it have?
I was definitely into like so through the family, they were all kind of playing various different genres of kind of like world music, really, like, you know, from kind of klezmer to like folk to whatever, but there was definitely reggae in there, and I remember like kind of liking some of the old reggae tunes my dad had records of for my mum, and I guess that kind of got me into like early, you know, Desmond Decker and that kind of stuff, and the kind of that kind of ska, and then yeah, so I think it was probably reggae rocksteady for me at the very start, and then yeah, once I got a little piece, I was like, give me more, yeah.
So you chose the trombone, which is like at the heart of reggae and ska. Why do you think reggae and ska needs trombone so much? Because it's kind of like the national instrument of Jamaica, they say, and like, you know, there's a lot of sax in reggae and other horn instruments, but what is it about trombone that is just so important to the sound of ska and reggae? What do you think it does to the music?
Yeah, it's really it's interesting that, isn't it? It's like with jazz, and you know, jazz is pretty trumpet sax led, but I guess the bone is like one of its best qualities is it's like so expressive. You know what I mean? It's with the slide. It's like very, very moody. It's very much like the human voice with the and the slides and the groans and all of that kind of thing. And reggae is pure vibe music in it. It's at the end of the day, it's all about the energy and the sounds and the feeling of the music. So I think bone just might maybe sat on that well, and it can be quite slow and quite chilled out. You know, it doesn't have to be super fast like the trumpet or the sax. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really sure how that happens.
But it can be simultaneously, the trombone can be simultaneously joyful and sad. It has that kind of, rides that line between melancholic and really uplifting. And I guess, you know, Don Drummond and Rico, they encapsulated that in their playing, and there's a sort of intensity. So how would you say like disciples of the trombone could strive to capture that intensity, that high wire of you know, sadness and joy, which kind of comes from somewhere within, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a funny one, because you can, you know, life is a funny thing, and you can aim for something, but you more often than not you end up with a little bit of what you've aimed for, but also something else, and that something else is probably your like inherent style as a musician. So, you know, like everyone has their own kind of trademark. Like Rico Rodriguez, he's got that kind of classic stoned stuttering melodic brilliance, you know, and it's like he's jolting in it, but it's just beautiful. You know, Don Drummond is just fast and agile, but makes it sound so light and easy, and he's just super high, and also kind of melodically sad to the point of kind of, it's like he's kind of weeping in some of the minor solos. You know, it's very, very, very sad. And then like Vin Gordon, he's very much a disciple of Don, but also just super like concentrated on his flexibility and his technique. And he's just, you know, just really technically a brilliant trombone player. So I guess everyone's got their style, but maybe to find out your style, just try and copy some of your influences and try and see where you end up.
Mm. And so you supported the Skatalites. How important are they to you in terms of their legacy in reggae and Jamaican music in general? What do they mean to you?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier actually. I think it's amazing when you think in the musical history, like how many bands have actually coined a whole genre, and like the Skatalites, to be honest, they kind of are ska music really. Obviously it was a whole movement back then, and there were lots of different people involved, but they are the summit, they're the epicenter of the whole genre really. So I think, to be honest, their importance is incomprehensible. You know, they were all started off as studio musicians, so they weren't just the band the Skatalites. They were playing on all the hits of that time, all the great singers that we've heard of come out of Jamaica in the 60s. The Skatalites were the people playing the music in the back for the most part. So yeah, their kind of input and their legacy I don't think will ever truly be kind of correctly praised or understood.
Mm-hmm. So I'm putting together a little Spotify playlist for Roots to the Bone, and it's going to be sort of building up over time. So I'd love it if you could suggest a couple of tracks for that. What would be your two ska tunes with a good chunk of trombone on them that you would kick off with?
Yeah, so there's a tune called Carry Go Bring Come by Justin Hines and the Dominoes. And I always just kind of, that tune always just gave me like a kind of it was like a kind of party energy, and it opens with a big trombone line, and it was always just like, yes, it's time to go. It was just an energy tune with a nice solo in the middle. And yeah, another one to check out is like a kind of a classic, but Man in the Street, Don Drummond and the Skatalites.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like,
Great
it's
choice.
almost like, yeah, it's like a classic theme song, which a lot of those Skatalites tunes they were covers of films and like, you know, famous themes and stuff. But that tune has just it's something about the recording and the energy of the solos, and just it kind of encapsulates that whole time for me. And yeah, if you're a trombonist and you want to have a go at learning the solo, it's a wicked solo as well. So yeah,
I was initially going to call the comic book series Trombone Man. I was initially going to call it Man in the Street after that tune, and I just realised it was a little bit long, too many words. But for quite a while, the working title was Man in the Street, and because there's a lot of images of Don Drummond in the street, so it kind of it made sense. And also, like with that tune, like a lot of the Skatalites tracks are quite short, and the solos are pretty clipped. They're in and out. Whereas Man in the Street, it really allows. That's one of the few tunes where Don Drummond really expands with his solo. Yeah. He really goes for it. It's quite long, isn't it?
It's funny because it's like it's such an intense tune, and it's like it's just pumping, and then just kind of when you think there's that, the trumpet solo, and just when you think it's gonna go into the head and done, Don just comes in and goes boom, step out the way, and just takes the tune over, and it ends. You got to remember, like they were recording these tunes one take. This wasn't like the modern day studio where you can ask for 3 or 4 goes at a solo. They were doing one take, so it's testament to their musicianship how slick they all were. And obviously, there's a beauty of ska, which is that some of the recordings sound old, and you can hear some tuning issues and mistakes and stuff. But yeah, that's the beauty of the music, really.
Great. Lucas, thanks so much for joining me today. It's been great, really interesting. And
thank you.
Stay tuned, people, for more of these bite-sized interviews with ska and reggae trombonists coming up.